Joining us now, she's in her 11th season as LSU head coach. Of course, been to the Women's College World Series 4 times, averaged 42 wins as a coach, and more importantly, it's been a regular on our show since the beginning of this podcast. Well, maybe for us that's important, not for her as much, but always awesome to talk to Coach Beth Torina here on In the Circle. How you doing?
I'm good. It's always great to be here. Always a good time coming on with you for sure.
Yeah, you're a veteran now in this show. You're one of the longest tenured guests. I mean, that's got to be right up there in your accomplishments.
I think it is a big honor, actually. It is a big honor to be a part of it. And I like seeing your growth and everything that's happened with the show. I think it's really cool. So I'm going to call myself like one of the founding members, if
Works for me.
me.
Founding members, OGs. Like if we did a Hall of Fame of guests, you're in the list. You're making it first ballot.
Nice. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's a big honor.
Now, speaking of Hall of Fames, you've been busy this offseason. That's kind of when I want to start because you got to attend 2 Hall of Fames during the fall. Back in November, you were there, I believe, for Yvette Girouard's Hall of Fame induction. In fact, I think, did you induct her? First, what was that like to have Coach Girouard, the legend, obviously, at LSU, to be inducted into the LSU Hall of Fame?
It was so cool. Honestly, it was just so cool to see. She's just earned every bit of that. When I think about softball in the state of Louisiana, you think of her. I mean, she is the person that has truly done it and made it real. And it was just such an honor to be there standing on the stage with her. What a cool moment. And I was really lucky to be there.
So you went to that one, and certainly that's got to be incredible because she's had an impact on your career. And then earlier in the fall, you went to Houston for your former player, Angel Shamblin's Hall of Fame induction at Houston. You coached her when you were the assistant at Houston. What was that like for you to be at a Hall of Fame of a player you coached?
Well, to me, that one was just so historic. I mean, just history. They made the first softball player ever to be inducted into the program. And, one of you and I's favorites, a Floridian, that was cool too. And a player that I had a hand in recruiting and coaching. So it was really special to me. And when I look back on her career and what she did, she should be the first player in the Hall of Fame of the University of Houston. And there are some great ones. There's a ton of competition and there's more women that should be inducted over there because there's some really special players. But she was the one, I feel like, just the big name that kind of took the leap first, which was cool. Had faith in what we were doing there and just came to really put us on the map. And I tell you what, she sure did that. It was a fun ride with her.
She did. And, we had her on the podcast leading up to that. And she credited you in a lot of ways for still sticking with her because she had a serious injury in her high school, running the bases at second base. And, it could have been easy for a lot of people to bail on her, but you never bailed on her despite the serious injury. Why didn't you not bail on her? What was it you saw in her that you believe she could overcome an injury that could have been career threatening?
Well, it was 2 injuries, actually. It was both the ACLs that she had. Yeah. I mean, it was significant, but she was like the competitor of all competitors. I never saw that anything was going to stand in her way. I remember I first started watching her, I think, and she was very young in her career and just out there beating people without even the best stuff. Like it wasn't that her pitches were, oh my gosh, it's the best spin or it's this, it's that, but she just was a competitor, both at the plate, on the mound, wherever you put her. Like to me, there was no injury that was going to slow down what she was. And her stuff was more about intangibles and stuff inside her than it was about her physical attributes. And of course, she's extremely talented. My gosh, she can do anything. She could hit, she could pitch, she could play first, she could do it all. But it was really what made her was what was inside her, and that wasn't changing by a physical injury.
No, not at all. It turned into to be the greatest athlete ever in Houston. Any sport, women's sport, any sport you want to name it. She's at the Mount Rushmore there, and I was glad they honored her as one of the 75 greatest Cougars. Are well deserved for her. Probably long overdue, and probably should be in more Hall of Fames, honestly, with her. But what's so fascinating because you established your name, obviously, you were a great player at Florida. You set a lot of records during your time at Florida, and you got into coaching and was making your mark. But I feel like a turning point was coaching Angel and having that success under Coach Holis's staff, winning the conference championship, because that helped you get the FIU job and then eventually come to LSU. Do you feel like Angel was that significant from that standpoint? Because I feel like in some ways she put you on the map as a coach. Fair?
Fair, without question. I think you think about there's a few moments in your coaching career where I think I'm sitting here today because of a few Obviously it's a body of work, I'd like to say, right? But I think there's a few key moments and decisions that have led me to this spot. And getting Angel Shamblin to be a Houston Cougar was surely one of them. Another one was, Kyla Hollis believing in me and trusting me with her pitching staff, which was a big honor because she had been my coach. So to have your coach hire you, I think is a pretty special honor. You weren't too much of a joker or whatever every day that they thought you were good enough to be on their staff. So that was a cool moment. But when I think about some of the key moments, having Angel become a Houston Cougar was surely one of the keys to me sitting in this chair that I am today.
Yeah, 15-year anniversary, by the way. That CUSA championship. You all won the regular season, won the tournament in Orlando. Back home for you both. It was a homecoming for both you and Angel, ironically enough. And you've always stayed in touch with her. You've stayed in touch with a lot of your former players. How do you do that? How important is that to you to stay in touch with all your players, not just at Houston, but also obviously at FIU and LSU? Even we've talked about them, a lot of them going into coaching. But you have this sense of being able to stay in touch with everybody despite your busy schedule. How do you do it?
Nick Torina. He's like my person that tells me, like, it's so-and-so's birthday. He's like my alarm clock for that stuff. But I think it's just so important too that, we're so proud of all these accomplishments. To get to be a part of all of these accomplishments is so cool. So I think that's why we're doing it. We're working with them for these 4 years, but we're trying to see what's going to happen. And then we're preparing them for their life. So if we just, bowed out after 4 years, that would be kind of a waste of all the time that we put in. So I think that we're really proud of what they accomplished, and it's fun seeing what they do next and love being a part of it.
So Nick's got like a chalkboard there. He's got it written down. He just reminds you, hey, this is so-and-so, to give her a message, send that message to her.
Well, as well as I do, he's a people person. So and he's one that is always on the phone. He's chatting with people. He's talking. He's way better than me at that. So I definitely married up in that category, and he is helps me a lot with all of those things and keeping in touch with people.
I agree with that. He's definitely a people's person. We've always had some good chats for sure, and his commentary on that. I want to ask you, obviously, this fall, how's the fall gone for your team? You got a lot of returners back. It's kind of crazy as I look back at your team last year, how young you were. And you even kind of, it hit you during the season. I remember during some of our media availabilities, it didn't hit you like during the years, like, wow, we're really younger than I thought. And yet you accomplished a lot. When you look back at last year and now into the fall, what do you see from your teams?
I see that time and time again on the field this year. I see us being so much older, and we're not even old. We have kids, all kind of kids all over the field that have 3 years left to play. So we're not even very old. But they've also been with us for 2.5 years. So that, like, bringing in the freshmen this year felt so different than it has the past couple of years, that we were so much more player led. They're able to tell them, well, coach means this, so stand here, do this, like a lot more than us having to verbalize every single thing that we want. Where when we had that huge group of young people, it was like overpowering almost. There wasn't enough people to try to teach them. But now they've been in the system, and it feels very different. Practices feel like they're more faster paced. They go more quickly. There's less stopping. It from the minute we took the field in the fall, I could feel that instantly, a change.
I've noticed, your teams in the past, there's always that hunger from the year before, for whatever reason, whether it be coming up short in a super regional or a conference championship, or wherever you've been. Do you sense that from your returners? I mean, you had a great year. You won a regional, tough super regional battle with Florida State, who ended up playing for the national title. Do you sense a chip there, a little kind of like, okay, there's some unfinished business from the returners that kind of take that with them?
I would equate it to when the team went on the road to Arizona in the regional a few years back and ended up losing a heartbreaker there at Arizona. And that team and that core group went on to play in the World Series for, several years in a row from the lesson that they learned from that heartbreak. I think that the loss was so hard last year on our field, and Florida State played great, and they were super deserving of the moment. It wasn't that. It was just to be in that at 9 innings and to be right there and to have multiple ways to have won. I think seeing that and understanding just, that it's cliche, but that every inch matters, every play matters, every decision matters. And to see the choices that we could have made that would have led to a different outcome, that was a hard pill to swallow. I mean, it was hard for me, and I've been doing this a lot longer than the girls on the team. It was a really tough one to wake up the next day and think about the inch that could have been, So if they're not carrying that with them, then we should check their pulse, because it was a real thing.
It's one of those things, right, where they need to learn to kind of crawl before they can walk. Like you could, you could show them everything in practice, you could talk to them, but you can't, replace that experience. They have to go through those things, right? Whether you like it or not. Sometimes as a young team, you got to go through that to learn and be better in the long run.
I would prefer to not, if that's an option, but I'm not sure it is. And I do agree with you. I think last year had so many new challenges for me as a coach too, the strength of schedule and the mentality that it took for our team to tackle that. And the issue wasn't that the mentality overall had never been there before, but with such a young group, facing so many quality opponents day in, day out, never getting a chance to catch their breath. I don't think as a coach, I gave enough credit to what that could do to your team's mentality. So I think I personally learned a big lesson from it, and what I would do different in the future, I don't know. We'll continue to schedule that way. But I think we'll try to find ways to just keep them confident in practice, try to do some things to make people, remember that they're great on a daily basis. And I like challenging them in practice, but maybe that wasn't the right decision at times last year with the schedule that we were facing. So I think I learned some lessons as a coach. I hope that this team this year feels like they've been in every situation against any type of pitcher, any type of offense. I hope they feel like they've been through it. So there won't be any surprises. There won't be a day where it's like, wow, this is better than anything we've ever seen, because we've seen it. We really have. We've seen it.
You've seen it. And one of the players that took a next step last year and has seen it was Ali Kilponen, who was fantastic for you, leading your staff 15-9, part of a deep staff. You got Shelby Sinceri back, but I want to focus on Ali and her growth and what you've seen from her this fall, because she took a huge step last year.
She really did. And I don't want to say I knew it was coming, but I knew it was coming. From the day she got here, I knew how special she was. I just knew it was a little bit of ways away, right? It was in front of us. It was going to take her a few years to learn it all and get it all. There was so much she was taking in and absorbing and learning that I knew when it all came together, it was going to be extremely special. And we are there. I mean, we're all the way there. So she's doing things that are just incredible. And honestly, her growth is probably one of the things I'm most proud of in my entire coaching career, just seeing how she has just really worked and wanted to take in every single thing that we've given her, and just has become this incredible pitcher that I just think will be a force, that people will be saying her name all around the country this year.
You've coached so many great pitchers. You mentioned, how do you get a sense of, okay, this one's ready now, they're taking off? Is there a moment? Is it something you see in a bullpen, in a game, or practice? What is it that you look for to know that, okay, they're ready to go here, they're about to take this next leap?
I just remember telling the staff when she was, in her first year here, I was like, I don't know how anyone could have that true of spin and throw that hard and not be great. Like the things she could do with the softball, I was like, if she doesn't become great, then we're failing her, because these two components just are not normal. They are exceptional. It was a matter of doing it consistently, understanding where the ball was going. You know what I mean? There were some things that she had to get organized, learning how to pitch with the pitches that she had. She had to kind of get herself in order. And that it's just time. Like, you can't rush it. You can't speed it up. There's nothing you can do. There's no substitute for experience, for being out there. So, but I told them all the time, I'm like, this rise ball spin and this velocity, if this kid she has to be great. And she is great. And working with her every day is great too. She is an incredible human being. I call her the glue of the bullpen. She is the ultimate hype man, pumping up her teammates and her staff. So she's so fun to have on our team.
Part of a deep staff that includes obviously returning Shelby Sinceri. You got Wickersham back. You've got others back, and you've got some new faces. Talk about overall your staff here and how they're looking here for 2022.
I just love the spot that Shelby Sinceri is in all aspects of her game. It's like, how can she be better? But she's better. And she just looks, I don't want to say she looks old because she's not old, but it's like she's our only fifth year. She's our only senior. She just is so veteran, man. She's just so veteran. She just knows, like she is like having a coach out there with us. She just knows what to do. And she's just so solid in all aspects of her game right now. I can't wait to see the season that she has. So we will, without a doubt, be led by her. I mean, there is no way, shape, or form that won't happen. She will lead us, and whether she's on the field, off the field, wherever she is, she will be leading us. And then you add, like you mentioned, Shelby Wickersham, Taylor Edwards, Morgan Smith, and then you add Ray Chafin to the group. I think our team instantly saw how special she was this fall. She is a competitor, man. She just looks mean out there, and you love it. They love playing behind her. They get fired up for her, and she's really talented too. So she'll be a great addition.
She's very highly touted, but it's got to be in a good situation where she can learn. And I feel like you've kind of developed this with your staff, where you have somebody coming in like her to learn from the veterans and kind of take the mantle eventually. You've got great leaders like Allie and Shelby to show her the way, just like they learned from, Maribeth Gorsuch, for example, and Maribeth learned from others, right? There seems to be a pipeline here that you like here, because you don't have to force her in there until she's ready.
I do like that. And I think, we're going to throw the best arm. So if Raylan Chafin's the best arm on day one, she's going to get the ball, but it is nice not having the pressure to think that the weight of the world is on you right off the bat. It is nice having a little bit of time, getting to, dip your toe in, and then finally take that plunge when you're ready. But she is going to be really special. And I think, she's from our state, which is cool. We have a few pitchers from our state. 4 of our pitchers are from our state, which is awesome. I know that's important to our fans, and they love watching their hometown kids. They love watching the Colorado and the Texas kids on the mound too. Don't get me wrong, but there's something about being from Louisiana and taking the mound for LSU. It's pretty cool.
Well, you're recruiting nationally. I mean, you had another top 10, recruiting class. This is the top 10 class that's right now on campus. You get every year. I mean, you've been building nationally recruiting. You mentioned Texas. You mentioned the state of Louisiana, which is a hotbed for softball. That's been part of the growth of the program, as you've been able to now bring in your players and bring in all this talent from a pitching standpoint and from obviously a position standpoint.
I do think we're in a good location in the country. We're, semi-centrally located. We're very warm. I feel like we can draw from all areas. I don't think we have only one spot where we can or need to be in recruiting. I think we can be pretty wide open. It's hard to come to Louisiana and not feel a lot of love. So I think no matter where you're from, you're going to come here and you're going to feel love. You're going to eat well. You're going to be, treated with hospitality. That's how the people here in Baton Rouge do it. So I think, we're able to find kids from all over the country.
Helps to have one of the premier stadium in Tiger Park. Like anytime a recruit comes in, I would imagine their jaw opens, and that's a credit to Coach Girouard. I mean, that's one of her lasting legacies there. I mean, you got to feel fortunate because, as you've seen, a lot of pro schools now are just learning, hey, we need to upgrade facilities. I mean, Oklahoma, I just had Coach Gasso on. They're going to build one for 2024. But you already had, kind of had that one, that Coach Girouard had that vision way in it before anybody else did.
Yeah, like I said, she is softball in Louisiana. She was just a trendsetter. I mean, her mom sewed the uniforms when she was at USL one time. So, I mean, she obviously had vision. I was lucky to get to sit in her chair. I'm still lucky to sit in her chair. I'm hanging on to that thing too. I'm still sitting in her chair, just so you know. But I'm hanging on to that thing. But yeah, we're so fortunate to be in Tiger Park. And now with the addition of the Mike, which is our incredible indoor facility, we have our own gorgeous weight room that's just for our team, which has just made our day-to-day life so efficient, easy, incredible. I mean, and it's just such a beautiful facility. I feel like we're just functioning at the highest level. So we're able to provide really quality opportunities for all of our athletes.
Yeah, she's been doing commentary of your games for a lot of years there. What she's like there when she's like picking your brain for the broadcast is how much of that is Yvette Girouard, the media person? How much is that Yvette Girouard, the coach, there talking to you there?
She's so awesome. She just never wants to get in our way. She's got plenty of opinions. I know, but I have to ask her to get it. She doesn't come in. You know what I mean? She doesn't just come in and get in my way. She's always just believed in me and supported me, anything I've ever needed from her. If it's to get out of here and go swim in her pool or, whatever it is, like she's just always supported us any way we can. It's been honestly nothing but support the entire way. So when she gets ready for the broadcast, She wants a scouting report of the other team. She wants to know who we're pitching. She knows I'll never tell her though. And that's pretty much how it goes when she comes by for the broadcast.
Yeah, she should know by now. It's media. We're not getting those answers. I mean, you can ask all you want, but it's not happening.
Here's what you guys don't understand. I have no idea. I'm like walking down for the game, trying to decide who we're putting out there in about 3 or 4 spots every day. So I have blank spots on the lineup card walking out to the field. So it's not personal. We just have a lot of talent and a lot of depth, and it's a great problem to have, but it's always a hard decision trying to write that.
I can vouch for you on this because I've been with coaches in the past. I won't mention names, but they would tell me, hey, we're going to throw this person as I prepare for a broadcast. And then next thing I know, it's like, wait a minute, that's not who she told me that she's throwing. What happened? Something happened in the bullpen session. You never know. I mean, so to your point, you're right. It could change in a moment's notice. Especially when you have so many options. That's the beauty of it, is you have so many options. You can kind of go in a lot of different directions, and it looks like you have a lot of options offensively as well, with a lot of returners led by Taylor Pleasants, who's now part of the U.S. national team. She just made the team. What was your reaction to her making the team? And certainly now everybody's going to get to see how good she is.
She is everything she's built to be and more, but it's really cool. I mean, I remember the first day I met Taylor. I feel like the first day I met Taylor, she made it clear that she wanted to be on the national team. Like, she wants to be the best. She wants to be the best player in the country. She wants to be on the national team. So to see her check that box and accomplish something that's been such a big goal for her entire life is just such an incredible moment to watch her do that. So I'm so just thankful that they saw what we see every day. It's a really special player, but an even more special human being. So I think it's a really cool accomplishment, and we're really proud of her and thankful for the opportunity for her.
She's somebody that wants to be at the plate with the game on the line, isn't she? That's the sense I get in watching her, that she thrives in moments like that.
Yeah, she does. I think she doesn't, care about the moment as much as like, how can she help our team? If it's getting that hit, if it's being the one that takes the walk and let somebody else get the hit, she doesn't care. She's so selfless and just will do anything our team needs. So I think, yeah, she loves being at the plate, but she's also not afraid to believe in her teammate too.
Who are some of the leaders on your team that's leading the way there offensively? It's going to be weird. I checked your roster like 5 times to make sure there's not an Andrews listed, which is very weird. So I was very concerned about that. So obviously Aaliyah's gone into coaching. Big surprise. Amanda Doyle has moved on. Obviously, Gorsuch we've talked about. Who are some of the leaders offensively there for your team?
Well, I think that's a big question, is we've had Andrews in center field for so long, and people keep asking me that question. I feel like I've fielded it a lot. How are we going to survive? And, and I think I keep answering in the same way, but I mean this when I say this, is we are going to miss Aaliyah every second. I miss her all the time. I was, she was FaceTiming us during practice the other day. Like, we miss everything about having her, but we are going to have an incredibly solid center fielder. We are going to have one of the greatest center fielders to ever play here all over again. And she's going to do it nothing like Aaliyah did it. It is going to look totally different, but she is going to make her way in her own right. She is going to do it her own way, and it's going to be really special and really awesome. And you're going to be asking me who her replacement is in 3 years too. CR Briggs is just such a great outfielder. She is just so technically correct. She has a great arm. She leads our defense. She just does so many things so well. And like I said, it doesn't look like it looks like with Aaliyah, but it looks awesome. So I think she is going to be able to do her own thing out there and make her own name for herself and just continue the legacy of center fielders at LSU.
Hit 339 last season. Was just a big part of that offense. Like I said, you've got a lot of the returners back. I mean, George Clark, among others. What are you seeing from your returners that you've seen taking that next step in the fall offensively?
Yeah, I think we're still going to be led the middle of the lineup by Georgia Clark, Shelby Sinceri. Those guys are leaders of the offense. They're leaders of us just in general. If we're making decisions, these are the people that are helping us. Taylor Pleasant, CR Briggs. I think all of those guys are going to, continue to lead us both on and off the field. That's our really a core group of people that is going to continue to take us forward. I think, we have Danica Coffey, who did some big things for us last year, who's capable of both speed and power, another one of those types. And then a couple new faces, Bailey Brandon, Mackenzie Rudity. love what those guys are doing. They're both really talented. I could go on and list, the group of players that I believe in that we have around here. So I'm excited about what they're going to do, the offense, and how they're going to come together and continue to be versatile, have a lot of depth, and I think that'll be a great strength for us this year.
With the NFL playoffs going on, the Bengals having success, the name that pops up a lot is Houshmandzadeh. You've got a Houshmandzadeh on your roster there. Talk about her, what you've seen from her, and what you expect from her, because I know you like her potential.
Well, I have two Houshmandzadehs on the team. I have both sisters. So
it's true.
Carrington and Kennedy are both on the team. So Carrington is an outfielder. She did get some time defensively last year. She's a super accurate arm, probably the most accurate arm on the team. So we like what we're seeing from her. And then Kennedy is in a battle for second base and, doing a great job of, both growing as an offensive player and a defensive player. So we got Houshmandzadehs all over the place. We got names you can't say in all different areas on the field.
That's Patrick Wright's job, so he'll figure it out. He's a pro, and Lynn Rollins and everybody else that'll do your games will figure that out. What's it like dealing with TJ Houshmandzadeh, who's a former receiver? I'm always fascinated when a player's their family member is an athlete. I would have to imagine that helps you from that standpoint because as a parent, they know what it takes to be successful as an athlete. So it's almost like the athlete is kind of ahead of the curve per se to some extent.
Yeah, I think he's very demanding, and it's been fun watching him be a softball coach and really learn the game and get super involved. So that's been fun. And he surely knows talent. I mean, he's a big reason why Allie Kilponen is here. He pushed me in that direction, said, hey, we saw this great pitcher and, you need to check her out. So he's a big reason why she's here too. So he's been 100% supportive the entire time we've been here. And, I love having them and their family as a part of this program.
Do you feel you have the depth this year? You have a lot of depth because you mentioned it. This freshman class is a very touted class. And I feel like that pushes the veterans, right? And that keeps that competition that you like internally.
No question. Some of our best competition will be here at Tiger Park before we even take the field. That's for sure. We are very deep. And like I said, I think we're pretty old. I mean, we returned the majority of this roster. Of course, you mentioned some names that are gone, but a huge portion of this roster returns and will continue on. We still have only Shelby Sinceri that's a senior this year. So, we will have a solid team here for the next few years moving forward. And, I like what we're getting from our experience and our depth.
That's that's a great point. We kind of forget this is still a young roster, even though we feel like we've seen them for a while, but they are still young. And I think people kind of lost track of that last year. They forgot how young you were and what you were accomplishing against a historically tough schedule. I mean, it's going to go down historically. It's been studied mathematically as one of the hardest schedules ever. It got you a top 8 seed. Pretty remarkable what they were able to accomplish. And we're not even discussing all the protocols and things you had to go through last year.
I appreciate you giving it credit because I feel that it was tough and I feel like our kids went through a lot. So I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. And, our kids worked hard in the schedule. I knew I was coming on for today. So I was thinking through kind of what last season was. And, we had kids in multiple positions playing their first full year of LSU softball last year, who are, I guess they're considered redshirt freshmen, but, we had 3, 4, 5 at times out there that were that playing. So we were very young. And then a bunch of kids in their second year out there. So, we were very young and I think they did a great job of just continuing to absorb, gain experience, have some of those tough moments and fight through it. And I really hope that pays dividends as we move into 2022.
Another challenging schedule this year. And then obviously down the road in the SEC, it'll be more challenging in the SEC. It's already challenging, but two teams you're quite familiar with. In fact, you're playing Texas this year. I feel like you're partly responsible for these additions because you play these teams all the time. Oklahoma and Texas will be joining the league down the road. What was your reaction with, obviously, this is affecting all of college athletics, not just softball, but obviously an impact here for the SEC?
Well, we're practicing. So we had them here for a 3-game series last year, and we're going there for a 3-game series this year. So we're practicing. We're testing it out for everybody. We're seeing what it's like, kind of like ironically, in 2012, we went to A&M and to Missouri to get to the College World Series, and both were adding to the SEC. So we were just going through, testing out the venues and seeing what it was like. It's the same thing. We're headed over to Texas this year, test it out. And I think it's going to be a great addition to the schedule.
They're like a scout, like, hey, look, LSU's playing him. That's a good idea. Let's bring him into the league. I mean,
Or else they're like, that lady's crazy. She's taking her team over there. What's she doing?
right, exactly. It's wild there. It's just tremendous. Let's see, a couple more things before we let you go. You've got more coaches now on your tree. We're not going to go through it because it would take a couple hours. You got practice to do and stuff like that. But Gorsuch is a coach. Andrews is a coach. Kristen Sandberg's back in coaching at Hofstra. Victoria Haywood's back at San Diego State. Those are just some of the most recent ones, but there's a lengthy list of them. But it's fascinating now. Every time you have seniors, graduating, now we look at, okay, is this person going to go coaching somewhere? What is that like you're kind of developing coaches here. You're like a development system here.
I think it's cool that they leave here and they love the game that much that they want to continue in it. I think that is a really special thing that, they still love it just as much as they did when they were 8, 9 years old. They still love it enough to have made an entire career out of it. So we're really proud of them. I can't say I always like playing them. It seems like they all know our secrets, so I can't say I always like playing them, but I love pulling for them when we're not playing them, of course. So I feel like every year we're having to check more and more scores. This year I'll be checking Grand Canyon to see how Maribeth's doing for sure. And, some of these others, like you said, Hofstra, will be checking these guys out to see how they're doing on the day-to-day. And just really proud of them. And I know they're loving the opportunities. I know Maribeth is having a great time and just really enjoying being in Arizona and having a chance to work with their pitchers and, having a lot of fun finding her way out there.
Yeah, Nick's going to have a busy cell phone checking those scores. I mean, that's going to be that's a big responsibility there. Yeah,
Don't worry, he will know all of them. He will know every single one.
I know he does. I know he does. Trust me. He tells me the scores, which I appreciate.
And what he doesn't know, he will just make up, and we will believe that it's true. That's the problem.
Yeah. We got to cross check sometimes there. Yeah, but you're going to run out at some point. It's going to be hard for you to play a team that doesn't have a connection to you. So unfortunately, the way this is growing, you're just going to be dealing with former players from here on out.
Well, I think it's awesome. Like I said, I think it's cool that they love softball as much as they did when they walked in the door, and they're making careers out of it. So it's really cool to see them go out and have success and stay in the game.
Last question here: as you get going in the season, what are some of the keys for this team to accomplish your internal goals and what you need to see from them?
I think the biggest thing is their response to failure. I think there is no doubt in my mind that you're going to have adversity. It's a long season. It's a marathon, absolute marathon, 56 games, So I think, how are they going to respond when it gets hard? I think that is, what is going to show us that what we did last year was valuable. It was worth it. And when things get hard, will they turn around and bounce back? And then I think, it's consistency. Our basketball coach talked last week, about you can bet on consistency. And I think that's so true. Can we consistently play defense? Can we show up offensively consistently? I don't think it's our ability to make the great play. I think we can do that or get the big hit. I think it's really about doing it consistently on the day-to-day, making the routine plays, moving our runners when we need to. So just continuing to be that consistent program that, we have been for the last few years. I hope that we can continue to stay there.
Well, we look forward to seeing your team. It's going to be a big challenge story. Once again, another challenging schedule. It'll be tested right off the bat, but it'll be exciting to see you all play once again. As Beth Torina joining us once again here on In the Circle. Hall of Fame, future fall Hall of Famer on In the Circle. There you go. You're going to be first ballot. Done.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.